This podcast is intended to provide information for educational purposes only and to serve as a starting point for you to have a conversation with your personal physician. Nothing stated on this podcast should be considered medical advice. Consult with your physician before undertaking or changing any treatment plan.
If the nutrition's not there, you don't get this. If the exercise isn't there, you don't get this. If the sleep isn't there, you don't get it. It's all of those things together. And when you stack them all together systematically over time, you can get the results you want.
So I don't think it's one thing. I think it's the combination of everything.
Welcome back to the Pound of Cure Weight Loss podcast. This is Choose Your Hard with My Vanity, aka Vanessa Ruiz. Vanessa, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, we're really excited for our conversation today. So why don't we just kind of get to know your story and a little bit about your history, your weight loss history, and what you've done. Obviously, you have a presence here in Tucson and around the world at this point, but we would love to learn a little bit more about specifically your bariatric journey so far.
Well, I was always one of those weight loss strugglers. Out of my family, I was probably the heaviest one. So I grew up very conscious that I needed to take care of my intakes and exercise. And that was something growing up, especially in a Mexican family, it was really, really hard. I'm in therapy for that, actually, being really, really open. But that led to just a lot of psychological issues with weight. When I moved to Tucson to start school, that's where I had the independence to eat whatever I want. So it kind of backfired on me. I struggled a little bit more, got married, and had kind of a love-hate relationship with exercising and weight loss, but then got divorced. And that really brought me down. Depression made me gain the most amount of weight I've ever gained. And I hit a point where I was looking at options and I ran into a bariatric sleeve option. And it's really funny. I usually think of signs. The universe sends me signs, and I was being sent a lot of signs throughout this period of time where I think it pushed me in that direction. And it was actually COVID, April 2020. So I found a doctor in Mexico, Nogales, Mexico, Sonora, and he was a friend of a plastic surgeon friend of mine. And so I did a consultation with him. I always struggled with PCOS, so that was kind of against me. And then he did mention I was high in my cholesterols, and my dad's had 3 heart attacks. First one was at 38. So there was all these things that were really, really kind of forcing me to do something. So yeah, right in the middle of the pandemic, drove myself down to Mexico, but my parents drove me. I would have driven myself, but I got the bariatric sleeve.
What did you weigh before you had that? Sorry.
203. 203. And I'm 5'2".
Yeah.
So small frame, 5'2". And I had a tummy tuck in 2006. So my weight was distributed a little bit differently. So some people even now tell me, I can't believe you weighed that much, or it didn't look like you were chubby back then. Right. But yeah, I got up there pretty quickly.
So what was that recovery process for you like during COVID when the world was shut down? You probably couldn't go back for your follow-up appointment.
Exactly. And I never did either, because being in the hospital, the aftercare wasn't very welcoming and warm. I had to kind of fend for myself. I was there for 2 days. It should have been 3, but they were, again, very limited on space. So they're just like, okay, you can do this on your own. Good luck. And so it was hard, but I had support from family, and I am a very persistent and kind of obsessive person. So I would listen to podcasts, and I would read books, and I would watch YouTube videos. So I would expect everything to happen to me, and I would know the answer as much as I could. And I think that really prepared me. Because in Mexico, they don't do it as they do here, where they have you go to all of these, process of you get that psychological help and your cardiology. And yeah, they don't do all of that there. It's kind of a shortcut, which isn't obviously the safest, but I prepared myself on my own.
Did you look at insurance coverage? Did you have insurance or coverage, or was that an option for you? Or were you just kind of like, this is the fastest way?
It was the fastest way at the darkest moment of my life. Yeah. So I needed a quicker fix. And I mean, money was actually a better option because that's when they did the stimulus checks right at that time. The dollar was the highest it's been in Mexico. So I paid almost nothing, honestly. It was the right place at the right time. And then I worked for a derm office at that point. So it was so slow. We weren't doing any aesthetics. patients were really low. So I was able to take 2 weeks off. So that would have been the only time I would have had that flexibility at work.
You're like signs from the universe.
Those
In the box.
part of them. Yes, absolutely. And it's like when you are thinking of something, it just presents to you. I had 2 patients in 1 week tell me that they had the gastric sleeve without even asking. So I knew that was kind of a sign.
So then how much weight did you originally lose? And at what point did you decide to take the next steps on your journey?
Well, I had lost about 30 pounds on my own, and then I got COVID. So June, I was one of the first people in my office. I actually brought into the office that got COVID. So quickly lost 20 pounds. I got
right after your sleeve?
Right after my sleeve.
Oh boy.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, it was rough. And I got pneumonia.
Oh.
So I was in the hospital. I know. It's like, all right. So yeah, it was a really hard recovery, but I am very persistent again. When I want something, I go after it. So it's funny because I took the turn to becoming more vegetarian and doing a lot of running. So that's how I dealt with the exercise. And I felt like I was skinny fat. Have you guys heard that word? Yeah. Yeah. So it took about 1.5 years to find the exercise that I loved, which is weightlifting, to really feel the happiest with my body, because it was bar and it was running and spinning. And it just took one trainer to give me proper nutrition and a good routine. And that's really where everything turned around for me.
And that was what, about 1.5 years ago?
1.5 years ago, last March. I wanted to get fit for a birthday dress. So a good friend of mine was starting to do it, and I reached out to her, and she actually gave me a free couple of lessons. And then I sent her so many people that she just never charged me ever.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah. So
good relationship there. And so now you are on a compounded semaglutide, right?
Yes.
Tell us a little bit about that.
So I, last year in September, October, I was weightlifting heavier. So that means you get hungrier, right? So I was kind of falling back into the habits of overeating and emotional eating. And I was going through a little bit of a hard time with my business too, and just other aspects. So it was something that I looked into, and I lost about 9 pounds the first month. And then lost a little bit more. So I lost about a total of 20 on semaglutide.
Yeah.
Yes.
How far after your sleeve did you start the semaglutide?
3.5 years.
3.5 years.
Almost, yeah.
So I think, we all tell ourselves these stories where, hey, I was exercising more, or something else happened in my life, and there was this emotional piece that caused me to eat more. But it was probably just the sleeve effects wearing off.
Yes, 100%.
And we see that so often, where sleeve is great for 1 year, 2 years, 3 years. At some point, we start to see some of the effects wear off, and the weight starts to come on. And I think with all the research you've done, you figured this out on your own.
Oh, absolutely.
The semaglutide, the GLP-1s in that setting, they are money.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Just solve the problem for you.
Right. Because I knew what to eat. I was eating healthy. I was just eating a lot of it. I was eating a lot of protein, and I just felt bloated all the time. So it was either that or, go back on what I was doing, more cardio, but that's not what I wanted to do. So the semaglutide helped control my cravings and all of that. So yeah, I was really happy I found that. I think it's great.
And how much are you paying for it, if you don't mind me asking?
I don't pay anything for it as well. I'll tell you what, I'm called a lead magnet. That's what I'm known for. So I have such a good following that I've built over the last few years, that if I believe in something and I put it out there, I kind of expose it on a platform. Yeah. So the company that I started getting it from, they were like, you've sent us so many people. How can we repay you? So now my whole family's on it. My dad's lost like 30 pounds, my sisters, everybody. So it's just been one of those things that I've been happy to talk about freely, because that's me.
Sure.
I don't gatekeep. I don't want anybody to miss an opportunity to be inspired. And this is one of the things that it should be of access to everybody.
Yeah.
And that's something that I think is so inspiring about how you use your platform, and obviously just who you are as a person. Is you're very uplifting and empowering to everybody. And I think that's rare and really beautiful. So
yeah, well, I go back to those signs, right? And so if somebody's looking through their Instagram and they see my post on semaglutide, and if it's something they're on the fence about, that might tip them over. And I've gotten messages from a lot of people just saying, thank you, I've lost weight, I can fit into my old clothes, I got pregnant now. So many aspects that I'm not necessarily responsible for doing, but I just showed them the light, and they did the work. So that's the beauty of semaglutide.
Yeah.
So what about how about did you have loose skin? Did you have excess skin? Did you have removal surgery? Like, talk to us about because if anybody's looked at what's your Instagram name? Tell them.
My Vanity.
So if you've looked at her Instagram, I mean, you got 6-pack.
So Zoe found you and brought you on the podcast. She sent me your info, and I was like, Zoe, are you sure that you're the right person? She did not have bariatric surgery. She had really? Because and I've done 4,000 of these cases. I know what people look like after bariatric surgery. So yeah, I think just to pair it with what Zoe was saying, you don't look like a bariatric patient. So what have you done to kind of pull that off?
So I did have a tummy tuck after my first baby, she's 19 now. So at 18, had a little loose skin, a lot of stretch marks. So I went in and had the tummy tuck. So I always had just the abdominal muscle pretty tight. But then I gained weight. I had another baby who's 9 now and just gained weight tremendously. So I was losing weight slowly enough that I think that tummy tuck also helped. But once I started developing loose skin, I was offered by another local clinic here, the Morpheus 8.
Okay.
To help with tightening.
Let me guess, you got it for free.
I sure did. Sure did.
So what's the Morpheus 8?
Morpheus 8 is radio frequency microneedling. So it heats up the skin as it's going down. And so you're getting tightening. There are some settings where you can target fat, but my provider, my laser tech said I didn't need that part because I had already slimmed down. So it was just kind of the diets, the exercising, as well as some little extra add-ons. Lymphatic drainage massages, I think, are great too. So they really help mold my body. So I don't think it's one thing. I think it's the combination of everything.
Well, just like you're saying, the hard work that you've put in, your relationship with weightlifting, the tools that you've been able to implement, right? And the maybe more aesthetic procedures that kind of help the skin tightening.
And everybody asks, because everybody thinks it's going to be an easy fix. Like, what can I do? And it's just like, all right, take your pen and paper out. Yeah. It's going to be a long process and you have to go in with everything. And that's where I think I'm a little different. I am very much like, you give me homework, I will do it. So but it's not one thing and it's not magic. It did not happen overnight. But I think I have the mindset that I enjoy it. I enjoy the journey more than the end goal. So it doesn't feel like a lot of work. As bad as that sounds, it just feels like life.
Just another example of what we've talked about so often, which is it is not that one thing.
No.
You need all the things. You know, if the nutrition's not there, you don't get this. If the exercise isn't there, you don't get this. If the sleeve isn't there, you don't get this. If the GLP-1's there, you don't get this. If the aesthetic procedures are there, you don't get it. It's all of those things together. And when you stack them all together systematically over time, you can get the results you want. But you're right. What's the one thing? There is no one thing.
There is not.
Yeah.
Not. And that's what I hate people's faces when I say that, but it is the reality. And I put it on Instagram and I put it out there on social media so that they can see. Because of course I'll upload a picture and the first thing I get is how much plastic surgery have you had? Or, that kind of thing. I did get a breast augmentation and a breast lift last year, but then I lost more weight. So that was kind of, defeated the purpose of that. But I feel like I am at a point where if something bothers me, I'll seek help and I'll improve, knowing that I'll never be perfect, but I'm pretty close to feeling comfortable and confident. So.
And you said something that I just want to kind of echo and amplify is that it's your lifestyle now.
Yes.
You've embodied all of the habits that are required to not just get you to where you want to be, but maintain it, because it is the lifestyle, it is the nutrition, it is the fitness, it is the maintenance, that the therapy, the work that you're doing internally to really kind of heal to have this great lifestyle for the rest of your life.
I think if something's on overdrive, like my head or just my body, everything else can give out faster. So I try to keep everything at the thermostat pretty much. So not too high, not too low. And there's times where my emotions are really high. So I kind of compensate with other things. And you're right. There's just so much out there. I like to stay informed and up to date with trends and new and improved treatments. And so I am always being offered, which is a really good thing, new stuff. So I love my position and role that I play in Tucson, and I just want to share it with everybody.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a
Wonderful.
lot of work to be happy and healthy, isn't it?
A woman too, and especially with my industry, you always want to look presentable because you're selling yourself.
Right.
You're selling your brand. I'm selling my makeup, but also my presence. I want people to look at me and say, "Who is she?" Right. So that's something I've been working on, and that's a never-ending job, especially with social media these days. You want to look presentable on camera. So if there's something I don't like with weight loss, facial slimming and loose skin on your face has been a project.
Sure.
So I worked in aesthetics, so we had to fill some areas, and that's something nobody tells you about. So that's that was one thing that I was not expecting to have to work on so much, is just refilling the face so that you look healthy.
So do you mind digging into that a little bit more? The working in the industry, the makeup industry, the the aesthetics world, how has that changed for you over the years as you have changed?
A lot of tools and knowing what to do with them, because working in skincare, I can apply that to makeup. Working in makeup, I can apply that to the aesthetics part of everything else. And then having a fashion sense, then I can show up on camera and be confident to have a platform and a following. So it all kind of ties in. I'm also a very passionate person. So I will go to an event just to network with people because I love people. So being comfortable with the way you look and confident lets me be able to do that. Because even before, when I was overweight and not happy with what I looked like, I was still friendly, but I was not that wall was still up. Now that wall is down, and this is truly who I've always been. I'm just more proud of her now.
And have you noticed, have you been received differently by people?
Yes. It was a very big transition on how people treated me. Not everybody was a fan of what they called the new Vanessa. I would have friends tell me that they liked me better when I was fat. Because I was never trying to be seen. I was just a little bit more quiet. I would compensate with being funny. So now that I felt comfortable, it truly does bother people to see you. They want to see you do better, but not better than them, right? So
it goes back to kind of showing, like the people that truly care and cheer you on. You can really have them by your side, and kind of shows what maybe you need to distance yourself
100%.
from a little bit.
And sometimes the social media platform is people who are on the other side of the screen are more supportive than the people around you. Because when I was going through my sleeve, I almost didn't tell anybody. Because obviously they're going to be the people that try to talk you out of it. And I was already set in stone that that's something I really wanted to do. So I kept it to myself. I told my parents, and I did not come clean about my sleeve until last year. So 3 years later.
Wow.
There was one moment where it just felt right. I gathered all my pictures and videos and I posted it. And I remember posting it and putting my phone down, and I did not want to look at it. And it went crazy with support. And as a makeup artist, that made me more relatable with women, which made me more successful in my career.
Interesting.
Yeah. Because I wasn't just another makeup artist. I was an inspiration.
And so now talk to us about how you use your career in makeup and as a makeup artist to help empower women to kind of have that same sense of confidence that you've now been able to create as inspiration by being who you are.
Right. Because it started with makeup with me. I remember in high school, makeup made me feel better, whether I felt overweight, underweight, whether I felt confident or not. Makeup was something I could put on and feel good, but it was very temporarily. So having makeup and my career and my presence now, it just shows everything that goes into feeling confident. It doesn't just start at makeup. You wash it off at night and then you have who you are. So being at the gym every morning, and I tell people all the time, when I open my eyes, I look at my Instagram, my algorithm is weightlifters, it's healthy eating. You are going to become what you look at, who you hang out with. So my friends are all into fitness right now, and I follow people like you. That's how we kind of met. So I am very inspired constantly by other people in the same industry because they want to feel better too. And posting and connecting with people with the same goal is really what I look after. Yeah, that's what I try to do. Yeah.
Yeah. I think something that's interesting, when I kind of first saw your Instagram and heard your story, I thought, okay, so she was overweight and she was in the beauty industry. Then she lost all this weight. And how are things different? How is it different from being overweight to being, thinner. So I think that's my first question. But my second, as I kind of started to hear your story, I thought, well, it was actually the transformation. That's the story.
Yeah.
That's really the story. It's not what it was like before or what it was
or
like after and where you are now. It's that transformation. I think that's what you've been able to leverage. And that's what makes you relatable to other people, because there's a lot of people who, are where you were 4 years ago, wanting to kind of get to where.
And in many ways, because even girls that look at me and they're like, wait, you went through a divorce and you were feeling sad and this is how you became. And so you came out of it. Now you're on your home, your business. I used to work 3 jobs.
Yeah.
So it was very tiring all the time. It was easy to just pick up a hamburger and eat. Now I own my own business. I make my own schedule. So life is really good, but it is the journey that brought me here. I had to go through all of that to be the person I am right now. But I forgot the first question you asked me now.
Just what was it like being overweight in the industry?
I always felt okay. I always felt good. I always dressed sexy. I always felt there's a word in Spanish that says gordita sexy. And that's what I've been known for, because I would embrace my curves and I would not cover up. So I felt like I was always meant to be who I am. But now I just am more, I don't even think of it in a I'm just healthier now. So I give my kids that example. But no, I wasn't as insecure as you would think I was, so.
That doesn't surprise me at all.
No, the confidence was always there. It was
there.
Yes.
Yeah. And I think that's also really important is that, if you think losing weight is going to give you the confidence, it's probably not.
If any.
Absolutely.
Oh gosh, can we talk about body dysmorphia? Even at this point, I go through it all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah. Bloating, periods, or just times in my life where I'm just like, okay, I'm bulking up a little bit right now because I want to grow a top shelf, but I'm also losing the dimension on my abs. So it does get to you. So that is very much why therapy is good for me and why I continue that. But good nutrition and my trainer. And
what kind of stuff do you talk about in therapy for body dysmorphia? Like what's been helpful for you?
Funny you say that. She did an exercise for me where I was very vulnerable with her for a good 40 minutes. My sessions are an hour long. And then she's like, let's do an exercise. She pulled out a mirror and opened up the window and said, go stand in front of the mirror. And I couldn't. I didn't want to look at myself, not because of how I looked on the outside, but because I had been stripped so raw of feelings. I could not look at myself in that state. So it just goes to show you got to be up right on your head as well as on your body to show up as the person that you're meant to be. Can't look a certain way and just be okay mentally. So yeah, therapy has got me through a lot of the body dysmorphia, because why I started going into therapy was my choices in men, really. But then it develops into, how was your upbringing? And what we've uncovered was all that body dysmorphia I went through upbringing because of the pressure of being skinny made me want to be seen. And so that opened up a whole new door of just why I am the way I am. So it got really deep.
So do you have maybe one nugget of tangible tip I'm sure that there are many listeners right now who struggle with body dysmorphia or struggle with confidence. Do you have one, if they could hear one tip from Vanessa on that topic, what would it be?
Just choose your hard. I got tired of feeling tired and tired of not looking the way I wanted to look in the mirror. And so I had to do something. There's no change with no change. I was just tired of being that way. So it is hard to do the work, but it is also hard in sitting in who you're not happy with who you are, with being. So I started off slow. I always tell people, do one thing. It's like a domino effect. Do your eating or do your exercising. And when you see changes, it inspires you to do a little bit more. And at this point, even my workout gear in the morning sets my mood for the rest of the day. So if I feel good, I look good. So it is just, I was just tired of being unhappy. So you got to do something about it.
No matter how small.
Action.
Yeah.
Yes. And surround yourself with people who are good for the lifestyle that you want, because that's been game changer. And I lost a lot of friends who were drinkers and partiers and just not good for my mental state as well as my physical state. So that was really big. And just educating yourself. Really, we don't know how much there is out there. And once you get a little bit of information, it's what you do with it. So I like to be prepared for things that come my way. That was one of them. And yeah, that's how I live my life.
I think that choose your heart is really powerful because that's, so many patients come in my office and they're like, well, I don't want surgery. I don't want to be on the meds.
Oh, yeah.
Eating is, I don't have any time and I just grab food and that's what I do.
Yeah.
I mean, it's excuses, but it's also the truth.
Oh, yeah.
It is hard. Bariatric surgery is hard.
I had a doctor.
That's expensive.
It is.
And there's some side effects. And eating well is not easy.
But so is being overweight.
But yeah, being 350 pounds, struggling to get out of your car, to get out of bed, to move around, that's hard too. And so I think you're right. You're going to have hard.
It's an expense to let yourself go. Yeah. It really is. Because then you have to deal with it in other ways.
Life is filled with pain, uncertainty, and constant work.
Ain't that the truth?
And I think the second you grasp that, like, hey, that's what this is. This is what I signed up for. Yeah. This is what it's always going to be. It's always going to kind of suck, huh?
Yeah.
Well, I should probably make the best of it then.
Let's embrace it.
You gotta show up for yourself because nobody's gonna show up. I had a doctor that I worked with who tried to talk me out of it because he's like, everybody who does bariatric surgery regrets it because they can't eat. Yeah. And I said, that's not true, but that's also not, I want to break up with food. I have a bad relationship. It's toxic. I need to break it up. So I'm ready for that.
Yeah.
But yeah, that obviously didn't stop me and I'm glad he did it.
Yeah.
Well, you made your mind up and you followed through, you took the action, you put yourself in full force, and clearly it's your lifestyle that you're so proud to live now. And I think that's really inspiring. Yeah. So why don't you share with our listeners, whoever's watching on YouTube, what can they do to get in contact with you? Do you have any services you would like to share?
Absolutely. I started off as a makeup artist and now I'm launching more of the digital downloads, which are huge these days, right? So I'm doing makeup classes. I have a very specific style of makeup look that I love, especially here in Tucson. There's a niche for that natural look that I specialize in.
She taught me how to do my makeup for my wedding. So I was like, okay, I've got to make sure my makeup looks good today.
No, she was a great And this is the beauty of what I do. I meet people like Zoe and they sit in my chair and they let their guard down and let me take care of their face and we become friends. And then it just connects you to other people in the same way. So I love what I do. I teach people to do makeup on themselves. It's not something I want to take advantage of people. And there's only one of me. So having everybody have that knowledge and get ahead with their own makeup skills just brews confidence, and then it just bleeds into somebody else. So if I can make a difference in the world that way, then that's how I want to live.
Love it.
And so to follow you on Instagram.
Follow me on Instagram. So it's a little tricky because people, when I say my vanity, look me up under my vanity, the way a vanity, whether that's a dresser or whether you're vain and it's vanity, but it's actually the first letters of my name. So it's Vane.
Okay.
And that's how everybody in my family calls me Vane. So it's my Vanety. So it's Vanety.
Perfect. And we'll link it in the description as well. Well, this was wonderful. Thank you so much for sharing your story, Vanessa.
Thank you for coming.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, absolutely.
I appreciate it.